My name is Shawn Schwartz. It's froze up already. My name is Shawn David Schwartz. I was born in Scottsbluff, Nebraska on October 18th, 1980. And I am racist against white people. I understand that I'm white. I understand that not all white people are doing these terrible things that have happened to me. I understand that not every single white person out there is only out to harm others, but also with my experience from white people, especially white people in positions of power, I'm not treated like a human being. I'm not considered a human being. I am not afforded the rights of a human being. And I hold a lot of animosity towards white people for this. When I type white people, I understand that what I am typing is racially pointed. I understand that just because you want to be racist towards black people doesn't make it okay for me to be racist against you. And also, that even if I do hold some fear of you for the color of your skin, that doesn't mean that you are victimizing black people. I understand those are my fears and that my decisions are made based off of my emotions, the same as yours. We're not robots. We're not Vulcans. We're humans. We have emotions. It is part of who we are. But some people in positions of power are allowed to threaten, harass, bully, scream, lie, and murder. And many of you make excuses why their victims deserved it. You say black people, black people, black people, black people. There's a guy in this town. He works at Seaboard Farms in Julesburg, and his last name is Luckahoo. I'll tell you a short story about this guy. My little brother is a liar and a sexual deviant. He went on a trip with my mother to Colorado. This is after I left the house. At this point in time, I'm earning pretty much all the food that's in the house. And I'm literally illegally sneaking into my mother's house when she's gone to put food in the fridge. Well, long story short, my little brother got busted with a pack of cigarettes he got from Jeff Luckahoo's. And he got busted with a CD that he claimed that he was stealing for a guy named Drake Chambers. So Drake Chambers got in trouble. And he didn't, much like Natalie Bollinger, he wasn't going to turn in her dealer. My little brother wasn't going to turn in Jeff Luckahoo's. Now, at this point in time, Jeff Luckahoo's and I had problems because, first of all, Jeff Luckahoo's was an asshole. He was one of the very first people who was disabled that I actually thought about physically harming. He's one of the few people in my lifetime that I've thought about physically harming. I mean, since I turned 18, and especially at 21, I went, you know what? I don't believe the Christian rhetoric. Jesus is my favorite hero of all time for a fucking reason. I am going to do my best to be the best person that I can and use Jesus as an example. Christians don't care about his example. They care about the two parts in it that they can completely twist and warp into something that it doesn't say. And then anybody who doesn't agree with that part, that's the only part that they actually give a shit about for the most part. Do I hate all Christians? No. But I'm not going to turn a blind eye to 2,000 years of torture, tyranny, and villainy just because you're nice to me and you claim that tag. I'm not going to pretend that there aren't millions of people just in this country alone who don't use that book to try to manipulate others. Many of these people, the people who push it the most, don't even go to church, don't even read the Bible, because they're addicts. And they're trying to manipulate you because they're addicts. The help that somebody who comes to your door who is an atheist actually needs, but you will turn him away because God apparently didn't make atheists. He made everything else but atheists. Oh, and also the Christian rhetoric is that, of course, Muslims weren't created by God either. They're all the devil and shit like that. And this is the rhetoric that we are taught. And it's hard to break out of that generational curse, that family bullshit. When you hear your dad, Brian David Schwartz, dropping the N-bomb all the fucking time, and your mom wants to talk about how all Mexicans are terrible rapists, and you know these things aren't true. My experience growing up is the reason that I am racist against white people. I'm not racist because I hate white people. I'm racist because I'm afraid of white people and the things that they do. But I also want to impress upon you, train! I want to impress upon you that it's not the white man that kills, but the white mentality. Now, historically, that very same mentality, it doesn't matter if you were in China, ancient Japan, ancient Rome, ancient Greece, ancient Mesopotamia, it really didn't fucking matter. Everybody, every color, every group took part in these things. Every single one of these groups, whether they were ran by men or women, had their periods of terrible terror actions against others who were innocent. Now, with the Romans, they didn't imprison people or make them slaves ever based on skin color. It was a penance that you paid for standing up the Roman army. There was a term limit on how long you were allowed to be a slave. And believe it or not, in Greek society, where they were also slave owners, you want to talk about how we have our free country modeled after Greece. No, we have it modeled after the only true democracy to ever exist, the only free peoples to ever exist. The survivors, the French survivors, Spanish survivors, and English survivors, train of Queen Anne's War. A bunch of rich people in England, France, and Spain told a bunch of poor people to go kill each other. And then after the war, these rich people refused to pay these people, these poor people. So these poor people, despite the fact that they spoke 3 different languages, although all of them are colloquial Latin languages, which is the language that was taught to every Roman soldier because the Roman soldiers came from all over the place, the fact is they're not the same language. On board a pirate ship, you could have French, Spanish, and English all on the same ship. So then the navies of France, Spain, and England who couldn't stomach the thought of free people, especially if those people are poor. Fought a war against the pirates of the Caribbean, in which, well, in that particular case, the victors were the ones who got to tell their history. Meanwhile, we have enough written documentation from those sailors themselves, those pirates, to know that the narrative that the British, Spanish, and French monarchy were selling us was complete shit. Was Blackbeard some evil cutthroat? To some degree, he abandoned his crew. But also, you need to take a look at the incredible risk that that man took. Do y'all know which southern town it is that Blackbeard blockaded with a sloop? A sloop is a tiny fucking boat. A tiny boat. We're talking about between 4 and 8 guns. Between 4 and 8 guns. Whereas the British, the HMS Victory, had 106 guns. Luckily, a sloop can outrun a huge ship like that only goes 8 knots. Meanwhile, the El Hermione, who one of the greatest, if not the greatest hero of the American Revolution, the Marquis de Lafayette, came over here on the El Hermione. Actually, that's not entirely true. He returned with word from the French that they were going to take part in the war, that they were going to join the war on our side. Of course, once we won against General Churchill, sorry, I said that wrong. It wasn't Churchill. Cornwallis. My most sincere apologies. I didn't mean to get it mixed up that way, and I wasn't trying to be an asshole by saying it. I admit that I'm racist, but I still have plenty of white people that I love and care about, despite the fact that they happen to be the color of most of my predators. I love many white people who stabbed me in the back because they didn't want to understand. They didn't want to take the time to understand. They didn't want to try to put themselves in my shoes. I can't look at someone being abused and not put myself in their shoes. What was my problem with Jeff Lucktehoos that made me so that I actually thought about physically harming the man? Did I want to hurt him? No. I wanted him to see his fucking dog. He had a seeing eye dog. And his seeing eye dog, when he first got that dog, was perfect, was great, was very well trained. But through years of beatings and neglect and not keeping up on the training, it just ended up that Jeff Lucktehoos just basically just beat the fuck out of his dog all the goddamn time. Now, mind you, this is a guy who, with my older brother and with myself and with my brother, Jeff Lucktehoos had this book from a Grateful Dead show of all of the greatest combinations of pills that you can take. Now, Jeff Lucktehoos had me do some work over at his house. And he was supposed to pay me. He never did. His wife, Kaya, was working at Sweden Cream. It's a restaurant, well, a kind of Dairy Queen kind of place that was here in town. And when he wasn't paying me, and he had told me, you know, if you can't get a hold of me, just go down and wife, it'll all be fine. So when he didn't pay me and continued to not pay me, and I needed that money and hadn't eaten in over a week, and I went and talked to his wife, the sheriff came to talk to me. Said, I heard you were threatening Kyle Lucktehoos. No, I went and informed her that her husband owed me money for the work that I did. Now, mind you, Jeff Lucktehoos killed himself using these combinations of pills. My brother tried some of these combos, My older brother tried some of these combos. I never did. By the time Jeff was offering me those drug concoctions, I had already quit taking those medications because of the way that it made me. And because I was aware of my history, every doctor that I have encountered in the last few years, I've told about my reactions to very specifically the medications that they put into me after I warned them not to. Jeff Leptahus had 2 sons. They're both still alive. Neither one of them know Jeff very well because he died when they were pretty young. Since Jeff died, and because I felt really bad for Kaya, I've been over to her house 8 times because she has asked me for help with the house. And every single time I dip out before she can pay me. Do you know why? Because it's hard enough raising a family with 2 parents and 2 incomes, and she's only got the one. I'm not taking care of kids. I can spare that time. Yes, those kids are more important. But also, those kids are adults now, and the oldest one works at Seaboard Farms. And he talks about how much he loves his job slaughtering pigs. His dad really got off on hurting animals too, and that is one of the first signs of a serial killer. Torturing animals. Now, how many people do I know in my lifetime who have tortured animals? Quite a few. Jeff Leptahus, my little sister Tara. There's actually a lot of people who get off on hurting animals. The stepdaughter that Andrew Witcher raped, she drowned a dog over at my mom's old house here on First Street. There was a chest that you could sit on. It's padded on top. And there's this little tiny dog that's about this big. And she stuffed the dog in there and put the water hose in there and sat on top of it until the dog drowned. Yes, I'm racist against white people, but I'm racist because I am afraid, and I am afraid because of experience. I'm not racist over assumptions. I'm racist because I am afraid. Many white people are afraid of white people, especially the rich. So to those of you in the South who want to be cowards and want to pretend that you're not racist and pretend that it's about state rights, I want you to understand that I am more human than you. I am a better person than you because I can admit these things. And I literally just said that I am a better person than you. I said that to piss you off. Hopefully, that gets you to think about it. And they are monsters, Carrie. You're right. Just like anybody who would do the things that they have done to me because of my disabilities and use that as their excuse are also monsters. Natalie Bollinger was a monster. No matter how much I love Natalie, she was a monster. Same thing with Alicia. No matter how much I love her, she's still a monster. No matter how much I love Jamie, she's still a monster. I, in my lifetime, have literally killed thousands of flies. And I don't feel bad about it. A lot of Buddhist folks, the way that I feel about people beating on dogs, a lot of Buddhist folks feel that way about me killing flies. Although that depends on how you view Buddhism, because according to their teachings, you're not supposed to hate. That's part of the point of enlightenment, so that you don't have hate or fear. In the 90s, there's all these fucking racist white kids running around dropping the N-bomb. Martin Luther King Jr. Day, you get to hear the N-bomb at least 100 times. This is a town with, well, it was about 700 when I first moved here, but Cabela's is closed, so now there's less than 500. Thank you, Bass Pro, for lying and going back on the deal that you made with Cabela's. Bass Pro, you're a bunch of pieces of shit, and I'll never shop with you. The thing is that I don't want to be racist. I don't want to be afraid of you. But you have given me so many reasons to be. Most of the people who offered to help me were white. And most of them dipped out like fucking cowards, quick, fast, and in a hurry. Just like Southerners. A lot of y'all call somebody who doesn't want to physically harm people a coward. No, the coward is the one who thinks that it's okay to go harming other people physically. Bravery is not the absence of fear. Those no fear shirt wearing pussies in the 1990s, all of the ones that I went to school with were afraid of me because I was different. And because if you put your nasty cockbeaters on me, I got loud. When I got into that fight with Zach Metcalf in high school, I only hit him once the whole fight. Once. And why did I do it? Because he fucking attacked me. Duh. So I'm trying hard not to be a racist. I'm trying hard to point out not just all the fucked up shit that comes from white people, but I'm also trying to point out that these things are, in fact, happening to white people as well. These are happening to homeless people. Homeless people are every color of the goddamn rainbow and every religion. It is full of monsters, and most of them wear badges and guns. Or they talk about making America great again by harming people in police custody who haven't even had a day in court. Yeah, I'd die for you son of a bitches, even you racist bastards. I'd like to say that if someone was going to shoot a cop, that I'd get in the way. I don't think that I would. Now, albeit, if somebody shoots a cop, even if that cop is trying to murder them, they shoot a cop, that cop automatically becomes a martyr. And the person who defended themselves to the best of their abilities goes to prison for the rest of his life and might get the electric chair. That was a funky tasting chunk of ice. I don't want people killed, but at the same time, Ariel Sharon, his tactics worked. When people were coming across the Israeli border and they were killing Israelis, Ariel Sharon in the 101 would hop the other way across that border and kill 3 people for every person that was killed. When these terrorists would come across the border and blow up a synagogue, Ariel Sharon and his team went across the border and they would blow up 3 synagogues, or 3 shit, now I'm not even remembering the name of the Muslim place of worship, and that just makes me a mosque. a mosque. I'm sorry for forgetting that word temporarily. But what's Ariel Sharon famous for? Is he famous for his fighting with the 101? No, he was famous because he became the leader of Israel after that. He became the president or prime minister, whatever it is, because I keep hearing both from the news. The news can't decide if the leader of Israel is a president or a prime minister. So really, both of those are interchangeable in that fact. Kind of like the difference between an emperor and a king. There really isn't that much difference. Kind of like the difference between black people and white people. There's really not that much difference. It's like the difference between men and women. There's really not that much difference. We are taught these things. Some of these things we are taught from our families, and some of these things we come to learn from the environments that we're in. A white boy in Compton, you might not have a very good time. But I'm not a white boy in Compton, so I am just making that assumption. But there's a very big difference between being a white boy in Compton and being a white boy going to University of Colorado at CU. I'm not racist against all white people. Well, then it's not racism if you don't hate all of them. Well, actually, it is. Because I'm afraid of all of them. I am afraid of all white people. The white mentality is selfish. The white mentality is to victimize others and then accuse them of being predators. The white mentality is if you gang up on somebody, then it makes you right. Might makes right. My older brother thinks that way. When I was a kid, we used to argue, and he was usually wrong. But I knew that if he asked me the question, what's 2 plus 2, if I didn't say 5, he was going to beat the shit out of me. And mind you, at this time, I hadn't been in Duke's Ryu Ninjutsu yet, and he'd been in for about 2 years. He had no problems taking me out and mopping the floor taller than me. It's not that difficult to admit that you're afraid. It's not that difficult to make rash decisions based on fear. And it is not wrong of you to admit that your racism comes from fear, and that fear comes from not understanding. If y'all don't understand that, then maybe you should go back and watch Star Wars and listen to Yoda say with all of his words in the wrong places. CCR, thank you for coming back. Carrie Zombie, thank you for coming back. And if you guys watched the video before this and got to hear some of the heated stuff, it is an hour-long video, so I hope that you watched it because it's got a lot of important stuff in it, but I also hope you didn't watch it because it's an hour long and I don't want to eat up that much of your time. I do want to thank y'all for coming here and talking to me, as well as for establishing open relations between each other. CCR, did you have surgery on your throat or your mouth or something? Carrie typed, I tried to, but my internet sucks big balls. Boy, am I glad I'm not the only bitch cursing on this bastard. And yeah, I understand balls isn't exactly a curse word, but I'll take it. It's a good thing you're healthy. I'm glad for that. I I can say I'm as healthy as I can be, I guess, as well. The problems that I have that are health issues aren't health issues that I can fix. I was supposed to go see a specialist in Colorado um, to see about the possibility of either inserting new discs into my back or possibly putting cement into my back in between the vertebrae, and then also fusing my vertebrae is a possibility. Um, the police hurt me bad. They really did, repeatedly. But also, there's the fact that I had a pre existing injury that they were aware of and they exploited the shit out of. They knew exactly what they were doing. They knew what they were doing was wrong. Because prejudice as well. It's like a good portion of the white community, black community, native community, immigrant community. We sell them the narrative that all homeless people are druggies, rapists, and alcoholics who are too lazy to get a job. When I hurt my back, I was working at Stone Lighting. I was traveling 2 hours to work every day and 2 hours back every day, and that includes my bike rides, 2 miles each way. It's about 5 minutes bike riding, but it's about 20 to 30 minutes worth of walking. So it would have been 5 hours round trip travel if I hadn't had that bike. After I hurt my back, I couldn't even get on the bike. I still can't get on a bicycle and pedal it. I hurt my back on October 18th of 2015. That was my birthday. That was my birthday present. I had saved up money so that I could buy a Chevy S10. This is like my dream vehicle because it's good on gas and it's a fucking pickup. And I'd already given Brandon $200, and I was supposed to get them the rest of the money. I was only $100 short of buying that S10. And then Josh got us kicked out of my shop. And then I injured myself. Well, a group of us injured myself because they all let go of an 800-pound gun lathe at the same time. A gun lathe that I was converting over so that I could make World War I airplane engines in miniature. In specific, an engine called the Gnome Monosopop, which means, well, Gnome was the name of the company, and Monosopop means single. Well, strict people. That does make things complicated. A lot of the people who wanted to help me, they offered to help me, but then they had very opinionated people that they lived with. And they didn't bother to tell me that. Natalie at least let me know that her family was opinionated, to say the least. I told her if her family was mean that I could handle it, because she was afraid I wouldn't be able to handle it. She said they won't be mean. And guess what? They actually were. Well, the South fought for the state's right to own human beings. The North fought for human rights for those very same human beings. Anyway, I'm going to log off of this. If you live in the South and you want to stop being a pussy, you want to stop hiding behind God as your excuse for doing the terrible things that you do, please, by all means, admit that you're afraid because you're fucking ignorant and you want to change. If you don't want to change, well, I hope the police shoot you to death. Merry fucking Christmas.